Hello, everyone. Good morning and namaste. Welcome to yet another session of Oracle Apex JAPAC office hours. My name is Chaitanya. I'm a director of product management and strategy for Oracle Apex. I'm a global product manager on the Oracle Apex team. I also lead the product management in JAPAC. Today, we are having a very special guest and my colleague on the show. Imagine being able to uncover hidden connections in a vast landscape of data patterns that aren't visible at the first glance, but instantly come to life with the right intelligence behind them. Today, we will be exploring how Oracle Apex, powered by Oracle AI Database 26 AI vectors, generative AI, and RAG driven insights can turn this complex information into meaningful and actionable narratives. Before coming up to the actual topic of today and introduce the speaker, I have a couple of announcements for you. You might be wondering what's coming up in the upcoming releases of Oracle Apex, what's there in the roadmap. Well, there are loads of events happening in JPAC. We already started showing up the roadmap, the features that are part of the roadmap, and then we'll continue to doing this in the next couple of weeks. So to start with, in India Oracle Apex user group is hosting Oracle Apex AI Day. So we finished the Chennai leg, and then we do have one coming up this Saturday in Gurgaon, Delhi, and then followed by on December 6th in Hyderabad. So if you would like to know what's coming up in the roadmap and what's coming up, what are the exciting features coming up in the next releases, please do attend these events in all of these cities and do let us know and contact us for more questions. So on the screen, you see the QR code. So please do scan to register and meet the Oracle Apex product team in these roadshows. I will be posting these things in the chat for your benefit. Then the Oracle Apex team is also going to be there in Australia and New Zealand. First leg is Australian Oracle User Group Connect. So you can meet Jeff as well as Ashwin in this tour. And also there we are going to cover what's coming up in the roadmap for Oracle Apex. Also followed by the New Zealand Oracle User Group 2025. So this is on Friday, 28th November at Wellington. Please do meet, please do join and attend this roadshow as well. And then you would love to learn what's coming up in the Apex upcoming releases. With that, let me introduce today's speaker, Franco Ucci. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, Franco Ucci. Franco has been part of Oracle's journey since 1987, holding a wide range of roles over the years, from technical consultant to his current position as Senior Director of Cloud Strategy for ANZ. With decades of experience, Franco has been instrumental in helping organizations adopt modern digital models powered by data, APIs, AI, and cloud technologies. Franco's depth of expertise and passion for innovation make him the perfect guide for today's session. Please join me in welcoming Franco. Over to you, Franco.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chaitanya. Let me share my screen and kick off with what we're going to talk about today. Yeah, absolute privilege, and thank you for reaching out and suggesting I help share what I've enjoyed learning over the last 12 months. So obviously all of us love Oracle Apex, otherwise we wouldn't be here on the session today. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is something I've been working on for a few years, which is, you could say, a crime-based data set that actually helps me understand how to better use Oracle technology, which includes the database, includes Apex, and now also includes things like AI. So we've picked two areas. we could have picked a lot more areas, but we thought, let's just pick 2 areas and try and keep it focused today. So the focus today, part 1, is looking at how you can use generative AI and vectors. And here you can see in the top part of the screen on the right, we will actually have a little bit of a dashboard that shows you what's going on in terms of crime activity. Obviously, it's synthetic crime activity. And then you have the ability to use a little digital assistant where you can do inquiries by category. And then you may have an interest to do some drilling down. So we actually want to be able to search using a semantic search with that. And then we may drill down a little bit more into more detail. And then we may act on that. So we'll go through that demonstration and we'll spend 20, 25 minutes doing that. And then what I'd say is probably the really cool aspect is how you can apply real application security. How do you enable data-driven security, persona-based, without making any changes to your data model or your application, and you get that capability. And it is brilliant. It's a brilliant capability. So I can't wait to show you how we apply that to the crime-based dashboard first. And then I thought, let's actually go back to basics and show you how you can apply that with depth and emp. And we'll try and do that in 15 minutes. So if you walk away with nothing today, you walk away with a few, what's Franco learnt about with GenAI, vectors, and then how Franco learnt about specifically real application security. So let me introduce the actual scenario we've got here. So I was encouraged to look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics of the different crime activity that has occurred across the different states in Australia. And then the idea was, how do we actually synthetically create this to then provide an experience where we can look at linkages and get better understandings. And obviously, I'm using this as my excuse to have a data set and application where I can look at things like JSON, graph. But today we're going to be focusing on GenAI, vectors, and real application security. And you can see I've got little examples where a mobile app experience could pop up as well. So without further ado, let's actually get into the demo. So the demo is I'm going to show you that little application running. We'll do the inquiries by category. We'll also do a semantic search using vectors. And then we'll also do a GenAI drill down per incident. And so I'll show you those 3 elements in the runtime first. Then I'll actually show you how I built those capabilities given what's out there. So let's bring over the Crime View app. So I've got my little homepage that explains this is a dashboard portal. It explains the problem I was solving, how bringing the data from different groups, obviously using 26 AI now, the use of vectors. We won't be showing graph today, and then we'll actually show you a few other elements. So let's get into the demo itself. So this little demonstration here is set up so that it refreshes and the data can change. I've actually stalled that at the moment. So the idea is that you can see the activity. There's a QR code there as well, and that brings up the respective elements. So I've got this little thing here called the AI lab, and that's what I use to synthetically start and stop the synthetic crime activity here. And I've got these little digital assistants that help me, really understand what's possible with the Gen AI assistants. So I've got one here specifically focused on all crimes, and I've got the different categories here. So I can click on something like weapons and explosives, and just by clicking that button, it's going to just go ahead and look at the recent weapons and explosive crime activity. So I'll just drag this out, and you can see just from that thing, I can come in here and say, tell me about Amy. And so Amy is down here, and it's now going to bring back the information about the case that Amy is on. So it'll go off and do that search and bring it back, and it brings it back with what's going on there. So it gives me that detail. I'll actually close that, bring it up again, and I could do something around theft. So I've got this one digital assistant, which is quite general in nature. Okay, and I'll show you how we built that quite simply. So that's that one. I'll click on this one here called property, and this one is slightly different. So this one's got a couple of quick actions that are a bit more specific. So this one here says list by the crime ID, the suspect, the victim, date and time, with the date descending. Or I could say give me the last incident, but let's pick list by ID. So trying to make it easy for the persona. And you can see we've come back and it's brought back detail, and I can say, I could actually just type 64940, and that should actually just bring back the case information specifically there, right? Or I could have said, tell me about Shane Scott, and it would actually work that out. And I can ask so I could just go bullet points, and it's smart enough to work that out. And most people would know that's because of the guardrails or the system prompt I'm actually putting in there. So that's a little bit of how, what sort of digital assistants have I got there, and I've got them specifically for each of the categories. Let's move now to another part of the demo where I've actually got a number of ways to navigate the data. So if I click on search here, I've got the old-fashioned interactive report that brings up the case information. I've got the case description. I've actually got evidence in a JSON string to expose what's possible with JSON. And I've got these 3 buttons here. I just want you to see that I've got page 5 here. So just remember page 5, and whether I'm using the search interactive interactive report, or the cards faceted search, the faceted search with cards, I've got page 5. I'm reusing the same capability each time. I'm going to click on semantic evidence for a minute. And what's going to happen now, I'll just go financial records or banking transactions. And what this will do now, it'll actually bring up any cases that actually includes evidence with financial records or banking transactions. So if I click on this one here and I bring up evidence and I go list item by date and source, I should see something in here in the evidence that relates to that financial records or banking transactions. So it's using a semantic search to do that. And I'll show you how that works shortly once this comes up. And here we are. So we've actually got the first bit of evidence, which is buried in this JSON, is witness testimony. There we go. We've got some bank records, email correspondence, phone records, surveillance footage. Let's actually go to the semantic case. And I've actually got a few of these built up here as a little quick. So, substance abuse by the parent, which is affecting how the child is supported, often creating a dangerous situation. So I could do a search on that. And let's just pick Carlos Malone. So I've actually got that query that's brought this up without doing the actual keyword search. And I can actually, once again, deal with that. Now, that's probably not the most popular topic. Let's pick up something. Let's go back to that money laundering topic, which we talked about before. And I'll do a search on money laundering. And let's pick this person here, Justin Montez. I'll click on Justin, and I'm now going to click on Ask Me. So what I've got here, tell me about the case in point form, or who are the people involved. So let's click on Tell me about the case in point form. So this will start to bring up the case. It tells me details of when it occurred in New South Wales, the victim information, the suspect information, the inspect's status, case description, highlights, etc. Well, and it actually has got some next step actions here. So it actually lets me know, given the case and what's here, it's recommended that I consider doing some bank analysis, as well as reviewing the social media, as well as organizing some undercover operations. So let's actually do all three. So I'm going to type bank, and so this will kick something off, and we'll see what that does for me. So it's actually gone off and said it's going to organize a financial transactional analysis. It actually highlights what it's going to do and why. And let's also do undercover. And we'll kick that off. And now it's kicked off the undercover activity as well. So I've just shown you three things. Let's go under the covers and actually learn how did that occur. So I've got money laundering there. I'm on page 10. I'm going to go through. I'm going to have a look at the vector stuff first. So let's click on page 10. And as page 10 is popping up here, what you're seeing here is I've got this little search capability here, and I've got a cards interface here, and it's bringing back the vector distance as well as whatever's coming up here. It's also coming up with, it's being shown on the map, and I could click on the map as well. So let's go here and let's have a look at how this was built. So the search prompt is there, and then I've got the string of how this is actually produced here, and I've got exactly the same string under the map component. I've got it under the incidents and the map. So let's pop that open, and you can see I'm pulling back exactly the same information. So I'm going to copy that. I'll go cancel, and luckily I've got a SQL command actually open, and I'm going to pop that in here. And before I run that, I'm going to go to the object browser, and you can see I've got this object called crime incidents, and I'm going to look at crime incidents. Where is it here? You can see I've got the Chicago crimes there as well. But let's click on crime incidents, and you can see I've got your typical table that you would normally see. And then I've got case vector and evidence vector. And I've also got evidence as a JSON. So at a point in time, I added the case vector and the evidence vector, and I bothered to actually turn a number of these elements into vectors, so then I could do the semantic search on that. So let's go back and see that working. Where is that SQL command? So obviously, if I go to execute that now, it won't work. It's going to ask me for P10 search. So let me go ahead and just go change all occurrences. I'm going to type in money laundering, put that in lowercase. And I'll just take these, I'll just go Control/ here to turn that into comments. And now I should be able to hit the run command, and I can start to see the people that were coming up in the report that were there before. So there's George Horner and there's Justin Montez. So this shows you a little bit under the cover how I actually went ahead and built this. Now, most people would say, hey, nowadays you wouldn't need to do that because we've got the wonderful search configuration capability with vectors that makes a lot of this much easier to do. But this is my approach to actually show you the power of vectors and how you can go in and do that. So I've shown you very quickly that vector capability. Let's go and have a look how I created the different GenAI configurations. So the first thing I want to, and let me make the screen a little bit bigger. First thing I want to do is actually just highlight, I'm using a variety of services here, whether it's Llama, Grok, and I've tried a variety of these. But you'll notice that I prefix some of these with G underscore, Q underscore, and R underscore. So G is like a general inquiry across a set of data in a general manner. Q is my way of doing a query that is quite specific for drug, for property theft and weapons. And then when you're at the lowest level of a record and you're trying to get more out of that record experience, I go into more detail there. So it's a very simple way for myself to keep that aware. And you can see I've got one there called G Crime Incidents Everything, and one that's formatted. So let's have a look at both of those. So if I click on the G Crime Incidents Everything, so you can see it's very simple. I've just called it that. If the question cannot be answered, use provide information not found. And I'll talk about where I got that from, that actual statement. And then if I click on crime details, it is as simple as select star from crime incidents. It's as simple as that. And you'd say, oh, there's more efficient ways of doing that. And yes, there are. But when you're trying to get an MVP and understand what's possible, you've actually got, a quick way to actually validate this. And it is not efficient. So you go, well, can you show me something that's a bit more efficient? Well, that's where I actually start to return only the data that I need. So here's an example where we're just returning the data in a simplistic form. And once again, the data that's coming back here, we're just returning it all as one string. And so that's an example of that. So let's go back and see what I've done for the others. So let's have a look at drug. So with drug, I've actually started to provide some more instructions to the language model. I'm saying support drug crime related questions, treating each JSON document, and I'll show you that in a minute, as a separate crime incident record, which includes details such as name, age, gender, address, as well as case notes for each subject. When returning the date, use DDMMON, etc., and return it in HH24. If questions outside of drug crime questions are asked, reply with the following: drug-related questions only will be supported. And then with the drug crime incidents, you can see I've had a variety of things here, but probably the thing I'd want you to guide your eye to is I'm using a JSON object star, and I'm using it purely related to crime category. So very quickly, you could see there are probably 2 or 3 other ways to do this. And one is to use a parameter to actually drive this and reducing the amount of queries that I do need to set up. So all of these are quite similar. They vary a little bit. Let's have a look at evidence. So evidence is the one that is JSON based. And let's have a look at how I've set that up. And that's really simple. It's purely select evidence from crime incidents, where the crime ID is equal to an actual parameter there. So it purely brings back that JSON evidence content. So you can then ask any question you want with respect to that. If I go to the other one that's a little bit more interesting, if I go back to click on that, and this is R underscore incident. And this is the one where you can have a look. See, I've got provide information and action support, the police detective, support crime related questions and next step actions for the respective crime incident record. Next step actions for the incident include the following: undercover, socials, and bank. Okay. Now you can see that there's a lot more you can do in this space, but I've kept this simple specifically to keep the demo simple. But we've got examples where we've got, you can say hundreds of 100 or so lines here, providing very specific detail. And we've got the crime incident as you would expect, and I'm returning it as a JSON object, purely what I'm looking for. And once again, the key ID, right? So you can see there's a couple of choices there. But what's also interesting here is I've actually got another one called actions, and that's a function body. So let's have a look at what's in there. So actions function body. And what I've got here is have a look at what the last prompt was. And when it says it's undercover, I actually want you to add something to it. And so undercover ops triggered with a green light, social triggered, etc., financials, etc. And for the demo, I'm keeping it relatively simple. All I'm doing is I'm inserting this as a string into a table. But it doesn't take much to realize this could be kicking off some sort of integration. This could be talking to an API with a lot more context with what's required. But the idea here is to simply show what we've got there. And because of the original setup, which I had with our incident, it was able to consider how to bring back all of that information in a supporting manner, right? So that's actually I've gone through very quickly the three little demo examples with showing you how I've used AI configurations and also the use of vector in that SQL. Now, obviously, I should be using search configurations. That's a much more eloquent approach to actually getting that done. So that's a really quick walkthrough of the GenAI inquiries, the semantic search with vectors, and the GenAI drill down per incident. If you are interested in getting skilled in this area and using vectors to the next level, I recommend you actually look at the Build an Innovative Q&A interface. This actually goes through setting it up with that, but there's a series of others that really go through that. My favorite is this implementing image and text that actually uses the clip model to go through that. Let's move to the next part of the demo now. So I showed you the application where we were just logging on as a typical user. What we're going to do now is exactly the same application, but I have got RAS enabled on the crime aggregate dashboard. And if I log on as Ryan Edwards, I see everything. If I log on as Rachel Sutton, I only see New South Wales. If I log on as David Lee, I only see weapons and explosives. So let me bring that application that's over. And I've got this set up in a different autonomous database. I used the refreshable clone capability. Then I broke the refreshable clone and then I applied RAS to it. So even though I've got David Lee here, let's log on as Ryan Edwards. And we'll show you if I log on as Ryan Edwards right now, and I click on dashboard A, in effect, I see nothing different. I see all of the data. I see all of the incidents. So nothing's changed, but I do want to show you when I'm logging onto this thing called Clone 89, nothing's different. I'm now going to sign out, and I'm now going to log in as Rachel Sutton. And Rachel will only see, if I remember correctly, Rachel will only see crime activity in New South Wales. So if we zoom out, we'll actually see it's purely New South Wales based. What we're going to do now is we'll actually log on as David Lee, who should only see weapons, and that'll be in green. So David Lee can see all the crime incidents that are weapons oriented around the activity, around the country. So that's a quick demo of what I've done as to actually show you an existing app, how I RAS enabled that. But let's, it's one thing to see it running. Let's actually now talk through how this works. And then I'm going to go through and get it up and going specifically for EPT and DEPT and EMP. So you can do it once I'm done. So real application security, it's all about how do you do this in a non-intrusive manner. And real application security is about understanding your users and their roles, their personas, understanding what sort of privileges they need, understanding the data realms, that is the criteria, the where clauses. And the combination of the realms, the roles, and the privileges make up what we call the access control lists that can then be applied as policies. And it's done in such a way that both access to the database and access to the application is picked up. Yes, it's native integration with Apex. So for people like myself that love their Apex activity, we can actually look really good really quickly with real application security. So let's talk through how we're going to build this demo. Let's talk through what we're going to do. So I'm going to go through a series of slides first, then I will do the live demo. I'll actually do the build aspect of this, and then we'll see it in action. So it's going to be fairly quick, but what I will say, what we've done with GenAI and vectors, I would say uses one part of my brain, and this real application security requires me to use another part of my brain. So I'm just about to go into that other part. So we've got Blake, who can only see accounting data. We've got King, that can only see research data. So Department 10 and Department 20. So what we've got already in place is we've actually got an ADB, a RAS ADM user, which is the proxy user to set up all of this real application security capability. I do have a user called HR, and that HR user has got a HR, it's got the sample set of the data already loaded in this HR workspace, and I've got, I'm actually going to do that on the fly now. Then once we've actually got that up and going, I will go ahead and create what we call the role known as DBAMP. We then actually grant insert, update, etc. on that AMP table to DBAMP, and we only grant select to the DBAMP roles, okay? So the employee table is the driving table. We then grant DBAMP to the RAS admin proxy user. We also provide provision and administer any security policy. So that's step one. Step two, now as the RAS admin user, we actually basically go off and create those two roles. We grant DBAMP to those roles, and then we create our two users, Blake and King. So these are different to your normal database users or your Apex users. They're known as your XS users here, and they get granted the ability to actually log on, as well as the ability to have their role of Dep 10. Yeah, Department 10 there and Department 20 there. Okay, so then I go into Apex. I have to enable RAS on the Apex instance, and then I have to turn real application security on the actual application in the workspace. So we'll do that. Then we create the access control list creation. So this is SIUD specifically for the DEP 10 role and respectively for the 20 role, right? Then we create those data realms. So over here, there's no talk of table or select statement. It's purely based upon the DEP 10 ACL. Whereas here now, we're actually starting to specify that where condition. It's the DEP number equal to 10. We apply the policy, and then I remember, oh yes, I forgot. I also need to do DEP no equals 20. I then go in and I create my users, and I allocate my users Blake, King, and Tony different roles here. And we should be able to go off and run that. So let's go off and now kick this off. Okay, so let's actually pick up where we've already created an ADB database. In that ADB database, we've created a RAS admin user, which is the proxy user for real application security. We've also created a HR user and schema. We've created a corresponding HR Apex workspace where we will actually now seed our data for our real application security demo. So I'll log into Apex workspace. I'm going to use the sample data sets. I'm now going to come to the sample data sets here, and I can see employee and dept, emp and dept. I'll install that, and I go install the data set. And then once that's actually installed, I'll actually create the respective application that we can then apply RAS upon. So there it is there. It's going to create the default application for dept and emp. So I'm going to create that. Got the default tables. It's got the access control. That's really important. I'm going to hit the create application. So once this is done, we'll see that I'm logged in as the HR user, and I can see the rows for department 10 and rows for department 20. And then we'll start to do our RAS work to then create it specifically for Blake and King. Once that's actually done, we'll actually log in as those users to see that working. And so here we've got all the artifacts. Let's go and log in as the HR user and click on employees as the HR user, and we can actually see accounting and research. Those departments are 10 and 20. So let's now start the actual work for this RAS activity. So I'm just going to kick that off. I've logged onto this database called FU66. I'm now going to create the respective RAS role. So let's grab that, copy that, and now start to run it. And we've now, we're treating the employee table as the driving table. And that's what's important in terms of the access. The rest is really to provide the structural support. We're now going to make sure that the RAS admin user's got create session, and it's also got access to that DB amp role. We're now going to provide the extra privileges for that RAS admin user, such as provision and administer any security policy. We actually do that. So that's actually been done. So now let's actually log on as the RAS admin user, specifically for this database. Once we've logged on now, we'll create that dept and 10 roles. And we'll grant them respectively with the RAS admin. We're now going to create those users, Blake and King. They not only get the ability to be created and have that ability to log on, but they get their respective role access as well. So let's do that. I'm now going to log back into Apex and actually deal with granting specifically the real application security at the instance level and then at the workspace level as well. So let's go off here. I'm now going to log out of my Apex instance. I'm going to go to the admin level, log into the admin level, click on Manage Instance, click on Security, and then look specifically for real application security. And there it is there. I set that to yes. I hit apply changes. I now log back out of there. I want to go back into the workspace and then specifically look at the EMP and DEPT and specifically pick up the authentication schemes and look for real application security here. And I turn that to internal users. Now you can see that this sort of capability of internal, external can be quite sophisticated. What we're going to do is just take advantage of what's here by default. And so if I hit apply changes and go back to shared components, you can see by default with this application, we had administrator, contributor, and reader there by default. So we'll be adding users to those application roles later on in the application. So let's get back into what we need to do at the RAS level. So we've just done that capability there. What we're going to do now is create the respective access controls for this. So once again, put that in as the RAS admin user. So I've done that for Department 10 ACL. I'm now going to do it for Department 20 ACL. I'm now going to do the respective realms where these are the data realms. So you can see for the Department 10 ACL, they can see anything where department number is equal to 10. So let's do that. And we'll do the same thing. I now will actually apply the policy. And we're showing that even once the policy is applied, we can then make changes to the policy. So it can be quite dynamic. So we'll actually do that. So we've done enough work there that if I go back to my application right now and log in and just do a refresh there, I'll actually see no data. So what we're going to do now is actually get those users we specifically had before, which is the Blake King. And I'm also going to create a third user. I'll go to SQL commands and apply that here and hit run. And if I duplicate this window, you'll actually see that I've now created these three users, Blake, King, and Tony. What I'm going to do is the last step where I'm going to copy. I'm also going to allocate them their respective roles in the application. So Blake, administrator, Tony, contributor, and King to be a reader. So we've actually done that. So we've got Blake, King, and Tony. So if I come here now and log out, and I'll just get rid of that session ID as well, just to keep it nice and clean, and hit that there and type in Blake and hit sign in. And not now, and I click on Blake, I can only see accounting. If I log out of Blake, sign out, and log in as King, not now, and hit employees, I can only see research. If I log out of here and try and log in as Tony, wonder what's going to happen. Tony is a username that's actually invalid. So let's actually go back here And let's see, and look what I've got here. I've got a little afterthought, which is let's make Tony a user. And let's go. And let's try and log in as Tony. We'll have to just clear that. And hit that, and just hit that. And let's log in as Tony. Not now, and hit that. And look at that, Tony can see research and accounting because we gave Tony Department 10 and Department 20. So if we try and log in as Tony, Tony / and I'll go select star from EMP and hit return. Oops. I can see Department 10 and 20. If I connect as King, and try and do something similar, I can only see Department 20. So very quickly, you've seen what is really powerful and possible by using these respective RAS commands. And what I'm suggesting is a non-intrusive approach in understanding what you can do with your data model. And it also gives you that native integration with Apex around being able to get that security just out of the box. Yes, so in terms of RAS, useful resources I recommend is being able to look at this piece of documentation. Highly recommend that. And I'll also say Thomas Min is a recognized expert with real application security, not only working with things like Apex, but also working with aspects like vectors and also Active Directory as well. So that ends my session, and maybe I'll flick back to you, Chaitanya, while I try and work out why my demo for RAS failed, and hopefully I can get it working before we wind up.
Thanks, Franco. I have Apurva to cover some live questions for you from the audience. What do you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Franco. What an interesting session. I mean, the level of detail and the depth of the knowledge that you brought to this topic was incredible. So before we move on, we have some questions. We kept it open for you to answer. I can read it out for you. The first is from Aditi Singh, and she wants to know if the case of the string matters when generating vectors.
That's a really good question. So do I have a definitive answer of that? I suspect not. I actually can't tell you yes or no to that, but I think it's more about the thematic meaning of what's being done there. And the other thing I should also say is there are a number of different what we call ONNX models. And we've just used one of those, but there are many out there that are specialist models as well. So you can get things that suit industries and suit use cases.
Yeah, there is a follow-up question which she's asking which model is being used in the demo to generate vector embeddings. I think,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
No, you go.
I think by model, if I'm not wrong, she's asking LLM model. So I'm not sure, like.
Okay. So I'm using a lot of I think it's that. I'll just stop sharing for a minute. So the actual model it's the one that's actually mostly in our live labs, which is Mini LMX or Mini. I'll see if I can find the precise one as we're talking. Yeah, and keep asking questions as I'm looking.
Yeah, and we have Krishna Acharya who's asking any reason that you use different LLMs for your various AI configurations.
Um, because I'm still learning and I'm trying to understand. Um, I, I'm actually trying to understand performance. Is one quicker than the other? And when you ask a particular question, do I get a different response? And what I will say is it's also getting used to what sort of guardrails or system prompt you provide. And some of the actual language models need more guardrails or more instructions than others. And realistically, you need to have an experimental phase to work out what's going to suit you. There's been some recent Gen AI vector proofs of concept that I've done where we are now doing both what the organization is asking for by the business or the group, and then we're also doing what we call a responsible AI layer in the background to measure if this was an appropriate response, looking at things like bias or legalities or risk issues as well, which makes it a little bit more complicated, but it also makes it interesting.
Okay, and okay, Aditi has another question. Can you please shed some insights on how we can exact similarity search? How can exact similarity search be implemented using vectors?
How can exact a similarity search? I actually would say that's a really good question. So there is this thing which I'm not across called hybrid search capabilities as well, where you can actually start to mix and match that. And Apurva, you actually helped me understand a few elements of that can be managed as part of the search providers using vectors in Apex there. Once again, I'd probably say it's another thing to experiment with.
And an anonymous attendee was really impressed with your application, and they want to know if you have a lab created already so that they can replicate it.
I've had a few people ask me for that. I think if Chaitanya and Apurva says, "Can I provide something?" I will make it maybe a Christmas project to actually not only provide the lab, but put some Easter egg crimes that need to be solved.
It's good. We can discuss more and get back to the community on that,
Yeah.
Frank. That really-
And the other thing too is obviously today was only about Gen AI vectors and real application security. It does get very exciting and a lot of fun when we start to use graph inside Apex. And graph outside of Apex is okay, but graph inside of Apex is a lot more fun.
Absolutely.
Yes. That would be interesting, probably for a next session, future session. So I think with that, we have reached the.
There's
We
one
have
more question there's one more question. Are you planning to mask with RAS information to the RAS queries? This is
That's another really good question. Am I planning that? That's actually something we're looking at doing a number of things with RAS. Obviously, being able to do masking, also column security. That is, what can you see with the column? What can you do with the column? And the other aspect is auditing, and then being able to apply Gen AI concepts to what's happening with RAS, because we're also interested in how are people using their systems, and could they be doing a better job, or could they be more efficient in what they're doing and how they're accessing. And I have to apologize for my demo not working too. I think I'm hoping people got the idea that RAS with Apex is incredible, and I would have really have liked that demo to work. So I apologize.
Maybe we can fix it in the recording, and the recording will be available to the community on YouTube. So please watch it at your convenience. Yeah, I think we have reached the end of the questions, and I would like to hand it over to Shailu to close the session.
All right. Thank you so much, Apurva. And thank you so much, Franco, for such an interesting session. So before we wind up, let me share my screen. All right. So I have some exciting news with us. Like the Apex community is really growing fast. And today we have over 23,000 plus Apex developers who are now certified. And if you have not yet certified, it's your chance to get certification. So if you're new to Apex, I suggest you to go with Apex Foundation course where you will learn the basics of Oracle Apex. And if you are already an Apex developer and want to deep dive or want to brush up your skills, then you can take up Apex Developer Professional Learning Path. Here we have two courses. One is Oracle Apex Developer Professional. Here you will learn the concept from basics to advanced. And then we have Oracle Apex, Empowering Low Code App with AI. Here you will learn how to integrate your Oracle Apex with AI services, and also you will learn how to create AI powered applications. And once you have taken up this learning path, you can go for the certification. So link will be given in the chat, and you can just enroll for the certification and you will also get certified. And now we are also coming up with our last JPEG office hours for this year. So the Apex PM team is going to present, and you will learn in this JPEG office hours about like how you can integrate your Oracle Apex with OCI AI services and to build intelligent audio processing applications. So don't wait, register it now, scan the QR, and you will get the link. Also, you can go to apex.oracle.com/co/jpack to learn more. And yes, if you have missed any of the our session, or if you want to replay any of the office hour session, you can watch the recording on YouTube. You can go to apex.oracle.com/go/playlist/jpack. You will get all the previous office hour sessions as well. And now, if you're a partner helping customer to build any innovative applications, or if you need any help, or if you have any suggestions for our JPAC office hours, or if you want to present in any of our JPAC office hours, feel free to reach out to us. You can always reach out to us at the given mail ID. The same mail ID will be given in the chat as well. With this, I hope you have a really great learning session today, and I wish all the very best. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today's session. See you all in the next office hours. Stay tuned and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Franco, and thanks everyone. Thanks, Franco.